Okay, dear students, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to discuss laws of chemical combinations. These laws are basics of chemical calculations, that is the stoichiometric calculations. So the first law is what? That is the law of conservation of mass. This law was given by Lavoisier in 1774. So conservation, this word itself is telling what? That is, according to this law, in all chemical changes or in all chemical reactions, the total mass of a system remains constant. Meaning, or in other way, how we can define it, in any chemical reaction, mass neither be created nor be destroyed, it remains constant. So if we are going to do any chemical reaction, whatever mass of reactants we are taking, after completion of reaction, same mass of the products will form. So this is called law of conservation of mass. Whatever mass, suppose 20 gram reactants are taken, the product will be exactly 20 gram. They neither be less than 20 gram or nor be greater than 20 gram. So here we can see the example, for example, reaction of calcium oxide with H2SO4. So if we react calcium oxide with H2SO4, suppose we are taking 1 mole of calcium oxide and this is the balanced reaction. 1 mole of calcium oxide is reacting with 1 mole of H2SO4. So before reaction, mass of calcium oxide is 56 gram. And the mass of 1 mole of H2SO4 will be 98 gram before reaction. And we don't have any amount of calcium sulfate or H2O. After completion of reaction, that is calcium oxide completely react with H2SO4. So after reaction, mass of calcium oxide left will be 0. And the mass of H2SO4 will also be 0 after completion of reaction. Or if we consider the total mass, that is before reaction, that is the initial amount. So total initial amount will be how much? 56 plus 98. So this will be 154 gram. And after their reaction, how much calcium sulfate will form? That is the 1 mole of calcium sulfate. So its mass will be how much? 136 gram. 1 mole of calcium sulfate will be 136 gram. And 1 mole of H2O will be how much? 18 gram. So sum of these two masses, that is the 136 plus 18, this will be equals to how much? 154 gram. So mass is conserved, that is whatever 154 gram we have taken initially, the sum, and the same amount of mass is formed after completion of reaction. So this law states that the mass in any chemical change or in any chemical reaction neither be created nor be destroyed. That is, there will be no decrease in the mass or there will be no increase in the mass after completion of reaction. Same mass will form for the products. Whatever amount of reactants we have taken, the same amount of mass will be formed. So this is called law of conservation of mass. I think everybody understood this thing. Very simple law. Whatever reaction we are taking, the balanced reaction. So from the balanced reaction, we can predict or whatever amount of product we want to obtain in industry, suppose. So we have to consider accordingly the amount of the reactants. So this is called law of conservation of mass. Second law is law of definite or constant proportions. This law was given by Proust in 1799. And if we define this law, according to this law, a chemical compound has a fixed composition or ratio of atoms. Whatever compound we are taking, the ratio of atoms or its composition will remain constant. It will be a fixed. It does not depend on the method of its preparation. That ratio will not depend upon the way of preparation or method of preparation. By what means we are going to prepare that compound, that doesn't matter. The ratio of atoms will remain same. So this is what it does not depend on the method of its preparation or source from which it has been obtained or source from which it has been prepared. So that ratio will remain constant. So this is called law of definite proportions or law of constant proportions. Now we can see, for example, carbon dioxide, CO2 gas. CO2 can be prepared by so many methods. So whatever method we are using in the preparation of carbon dioxide, ratio of carbon and oxygen will remain constant. That will be what? 1:2. Whatever means we are considering. So for example, the first method we are using, that is by heating of calcium carbonate. So if we heat calcium carbonate, that is the thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate. What will form? Calcium oxide plus CO2. So in the CO2, ratio of carbon and oxygen will remain same. That will be 1:2. Similarly, other method, by heating sodium bicarbonate. If we heat sodium bicarbonate, what will form? Sodium carbonate plus carbon dioxide plus H2O. Is it clear? So sodium bicarbonate on heating is forming CO2 gas. So in this CO2 gas, carbon dioxide, that is the ratio of carbon and oxygen will remain same, atomic ratio. That will be what? 1:2 again. So this is the second method for preparation of carbon dioxide. Third method is by burning carbon in O2. If we burn carbon in oxygen, this is exothermic reaction, a huge amount of heat will liberate. So when the carbon burns in excess amount of oxygen, what will form? Carbon dioxide. So the ratio of atoms of carbon and oxygen will remain same, that is 1:2. Similarly, we can see that is by reacting calcium carbonate with HCl. Calcium carbonate is basic in nature, HCl is strong acid. So that is calcium carbonate, limestone we can say. This is reacting with HCl and it is forming calcium chloride, H2 and carbon dioxide. So here also the ratio of carbon and oxygen will remain same. Is it clear? So whatever compound, any compound, whatever compound we are going to form, by any means, the ratio of constituent atoms or composition of all elements in that compound will remain same. So this is called law of constant or definite proportions. So it was given by Proust in 1799. And again, just see, this is the very important point. Note, this law is not applicable for isomers, because in isomers, different compounds are, isomers are what? Compounds having same ratio of atoms, but their properties will be different their structure will be different, their physical properties and chemical properties will be different. For example, we are having ethyl alcohol. In the ethyl alcohol, if we see the formula of ethyl alcohol, again I can discuss it here. That is, if we consider ethyl alcohol, this is C2H5, this is C2H5OH. So the ratio of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is what? 2:6:1. And it's another isomer is what? CH3OCH3, dimethyl ether. Here is also ratio same. So this law is not applicable for these two compounds, that is for isomers. It is also not applicable for isotopes because the mass will be different for isotopes. For example, again I can take one example here for this. For example, H2O and D2O. So this is the 2 parts of hydrogen are reacting with 16 parts of oxygen, or 2 parts that is the parts or mass of hydrogen is to oxygen is 2:16 here. But here it is what? 4:16, because atomic mass of deuterium is 2. So this ratio is 4:16. So this law is not applicable. It is not applicable for isotopes. Is it clear to everybody? So here we are having the 2 limitations, because we cannot apply this law for isomers and for isotopes. I think everybody understood this thing. Next thing is the law of multiple proportions. It was given by Dalton in 1808, and this law states, that is, according to this law, if 2 elements combine to form more than one compound, then different masses of one element combine with a fixed mass of other element. That is, the one element mass we have to consider, or we have to take it as the fixed mass, and other elements mass will vary. So different masses bear, that is the different masses of other element which are variable, it bear a simple ratio to one another. So for example, we can consider, that is, first example, reaction of hydrogen with oxygen. It forms 2 different compounds, one H2 and one H2O2, hydrogen peroxide. So in H2O, the parts of hydrogen is constant, that is 2 parts. In H2O2 also 2 parts. So the mass of hydrogen is fixed here, but the mass of oxygen is variable. It is varying. So with the 2 parts, 16 parts of oxygen are reacting. With 2 parts here, 32 parts of oxygen are reacting. So if we compare their ratio, that is the masses of oxygen in both compounds, so this ratio will be a simple ratio. It will be a simple ratio. So the ratio of oxygen in H2 and H2O2 is 1:2. Again, we can see the another example. Reaction of nitrogen with oxygen form a wide category of oxides. So many different oxides are forming depending upon the different conditions. So first oxide is what? Nitrous oxide, laughing gas. So in N2O, 28 parts of nitrogen are present, 16 parts of oxygen are present. Second isomer is nitric oxide, that is the dimer of nitric oxide. So this is what? 28 parts of nitrogen, 32 parts of oxygen. In nitrogen trioxide, 28 parts nitrogen, 48 parts oxygen. In N2O4, 28 parts nitrogen, that is the amount of nitrogen is fixed here in all cases. but the amount of oxygen is varying. So these different masses of oxygen will bear a simple ratio. So if we divide all these values by 16, we will get 1:2:3:4:5 ratio. So that is the mass, different masses of other elements in all compounds will bear a simple ratio. So ratio of oxygen in all oxides is what? 1:2:3:4:5. Similarly, also you can note this thing. Non-stoichiometric compounds do not follow this law. That is, for example, non-stoichiometric compounds are what? Okay, here, for example, FeO and Fe2O3. So, if we consider the amount of oxygen is varying, that is with 56 gram, amount is acting 16 gram. Here it is 56 gram. If we take the half of this for iron, so this will be 56 and this will be 24. So 16:24 will also bear a simple ratio. That is, the oxygen is to oxygen ratio will be 16:24. Or if we divide by 2, this is 2:3. And its non-stoichiometric compound is like this, FeO 0.95. So this is not bearing the same ratio. Here it is not having the simple ratio. Like in NiO 0.93. This will also do not bear a simple ratio. So this law is not applicable for non-stoichiometric compound. Here this is a very important point. Everybody has to note this point. So definitely in the problems, you can give the statement type of question and can ask which law will be not applicable for this type of the compounds. I think everybody understood this thing. After that, we are having the law of reciprocal proportions, and this law was given by Richter in 1794. According to this law, when definite mass of an element A, that is the amount of A we are considering definite, fixed mass. So when definite mass of an element A combined with two other elements, that is B and C, it is combining with other element B and C to form two different compounds, and B and C also combine with each other to form a compound, a third compound they are forming. So their combining masses are in same proportion, or it may bear a simple ratio to the masses of B and C. Whatever mass of B and C is combined with A, whatever is the ratio of B and C with A, same will be the ratio of B and C combining with each other, or it may bear, if it is not same, then it will bear a simple ratio. For example, that is B and C which combine with a constant mass of A. So suppose we are having this hydrogen A compound, it is combining with sulfur B compound to form H2S. Hydrogen also combine with oxygen to form H2O. Sulfur and oxygen also combine, that is the B and C also combine to form SO2. So here we can see in H2S 2 parts of hydrogen, and in H2O also 2 parts of hydrogen, that is the mass of A is fixed. So it is combining with the 32 parts of sulfur and 60 parts of oxygen. if we see in SO2, amount of sulfur is 32 parts, amount of oxygen is also 32 parts. So hence the ratio of sulfur is to oxygen in SO2 is 1:1. They are bearing the same or simple ratio. Here they are bearing 2:1 ratio in H2S and H2O. And in SO2 they are bearing 1:1 ratio. So it may be same ratio or it may have a simple ratio. Or in other words, we can say in all chemical reactions, substances always react in the ratio of their equivalent masses. So whatever mass of compound A we are considering, divided by its equivalent mass will be the mass of compound B divided by the equivalent mass of B. So equivalent mass is the new word here that we will discuss again in detail. That is the equivalent weights and gram equivalents and law of equivalence. So this is a different concept that we will discuss after in the coming topics. It will come. So this is called the fourth law of reciprocal proportions. After that, we can see the next law is law of gaseous volumes. This law was given by Gay-Lussac in 1808. According to this law, all gases react with each other in the simple ratio of their volumes. And if the product is also a gas, the volume of product also bear a simple ratio. That is, the volumes at particular temperature and pressure bear a same ratio for reactant or simple ratio, and the product will also bear a simple ratio. For example, here we have seen some examples. That is the formation of H2 vapors or H2 gas by reaction of H2 and O2. So two volume of hydrogen react with one volume of oxygen. This is one volume. To form two volume of H2O. So the ratio of H2 and O2 volumes is 2:1, or the ratio of H2 and H2O is 1:1, or the ratio of O2 and H2O is 1:2. So this ratio of volumes bear a simple ratio or same ratio. Again, carbon monoxide react with O2 gas to form CO2 gas. So what is their ratio? 2 volume of carbon dioxide react with 1 volume of oxygen gas to form 2 volumes of this, to form 2 volumes of carbon dioxide. So they are reacting at in the 2:1 ratio of their respective volumes to form 2 volumes of O2. So whatever ratio, either with the reactant side or product side, if we consider, they will bear a simple ratio. So this is called the law of gaseous volume. It was given by Gay-Lussac. So that is, the condition is what? We are measuring the volume at under the identical conditions of temperature and pressure. So I think everybody understood this thing. And the next thing we will discuss other things in the next class. So now I am winding up this class. Okay, bye to everybody. I am ending the meeting. That is